بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد وبارك وسلم سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي أما بعد الحمد لله رب العالمين. Today inshallah we will have our Zakat seminar or Zakat program, and inshallah we will look at various things regarding Zakat, definition of Zakat, obligation, the virtues, the punishments, and then further ahead we will look at the actual fiqh of Zakat, how to calculate, on whom Zakat is compulsory, where we should give Zakat, and all these inshallah. And if you have any questions, and then inshallah you can put them in the comment section. Whatever we can answer, inshallah, we'll try and answer. And we don't guarantee that we are going to answer each and every question, depending upon time, inshallah. So Zakat is one of the most important pillars of Islam. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran and our beloved Messenger Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam in the Sunnah, they have given great emphasis on its significance and its importance. In terms of what Zakat is, next slide. The definition of Zakat. Zakat, linguistically, in terms of the lughat, it means purity, praise, growth, and blessing. So purity is tuhur. It's a means of cleansing our wealth. It's a means of purifying our wealth. And izdadul mal, it also increases and brings barakah in the mal and in our wealth as well. And in the Shari'at, it means to give a fixed amount of specified wealth to a needy Muslim for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So whatever zakat you have to give, it's a specified amount that you give to those who are needy, the way Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has mentioned to us in the Quran. So then you make them the owners of the wealth that you have given. So tamlik is important, that they become the owners of the wealth. And the obligation of zakat. Quran is where we get all our ahkamat. And zakat is also mentioned in the Quran. And it is one of the main fundamentals of Islam in the Quran and the Hadith. And it's the ijma' of the ummah that zakat is farad and compulsory. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran, he says, وَأَقِيمُوا الصَّلَاةَ وَآتُوا الزَّكَاةَ وَارْكَعُوا مَعَ الرَّاكِعِينَ. And establish salah, pay zakat, and bow your heads with those who bow down in worship. So from the Quran we learn in many places in the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَأَقِيمُوا الصَّلَاةَ وَآتُوا الزَّكَاةَ. So wherever the mention of salah comes, you will also find mention of zakat in many places as well. And just by itself as well, Allah has mentioned zakat and charity, sadaqah, compulsory charity, quite a few times. In the Quran, zakat and salah have been mentioned together 32 times. So in the whole of Quran, you will find the mention of aqimu salah wa atu zakah 32 times. And in one hadith, Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu reports that Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam sent Mu'adh radiallahu anhu to Yemen, and he said to him that invite the people to testify there is none worthy of worship except Allah, and that I am Allah's messenger. And then further he said to them that if they obey you to do so, then inform them that Allah has enjoined upon them 5 salah. And if they obey you to do so, then inform them that Allah has made it farad upon them to pay zakat from their wealth. It is to be taken from the wealthy among them and given to the poor amongst them. So these are the hadith about the fardiyat and the compulsion of zakat. So why do we give zakat? So there are many benefits. First and foremost, it is a command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So it is compulsory. We have to give zakat because Allah has commanded us to do so. Number two, purifies our soul from greed and wealth from impurity. So there are two ways here. One is it purifies our own soul, our own nafs, so that the greed or the want for the wealth is removed from our hearts, and we are focusing on the akhirah and the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then it also purifies the wealth as well itself. So sometimes it might seem like I'm giving so much money away in wealth, in zakat, but then remember that is a means of purification, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give you barakah and bless the remainder of the money. So it is not a burden, instead it is actually a favor that we are doing upon ourselves. So when we give zakat as well, we should not take it to be that we are doing a favor on the poor people. No, rather the poor and the recipients of zakat, they are the ones who are doing a favor to us by accepting this money and purifying our wealth for us. And it promotes circulation of wealth. It's a right of the needy, and it bridges the gap between the affluent and needy, and also reduces inequality in the amount of wealth between the rich and the poor. So then, because the rich have so much, the poor have nothing, so when you give them, at least they can come to a certain level. And the whole purpose of zakat is to make someone independent. Now, if you give someone zakat £5, £10, what help is that going to give? So when you give zakat, you give them properly so that in the future they become independent, and they are the ones who further ahead go and give zakat to others. What are the virtues and admonitions in relation to zakat? So we have many Quran ayat and a hadith when it comes to giving zakat. So in this ayah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives an example of those people who spend in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this is like a seed. When you plant the seed, then it grows and you have 7 spikes in them. And then each spike has 100 grains. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying that way from one seed, you can get 700 times the benefit of it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying He multiplies His reward for whoever He wills. So when we give charity, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will multiply at least 700 times or even more, whatever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wills. And Allah said in the Quran, يَمْحَقُ اللَّهُ الرِّبَى وَيُرْبِي الصَّدَقَاتِ. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala destroys interest. Why? Because interest is totally the opposite of charity, totally the opposite of what we benefit people. So instead, with interest, we are destroying the system which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has put in place of looking out for each other. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says He destroys interest and gives increase for charity. Further ahead in other ayat, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that those people who hoard gold and silver and they don't spend in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, so Allah says that inform them of a very, very painful punishment, that on the day of Qiyamah, when it will be heated in the fire of Jahannam. So that wealth that you had hoarded, that you did not want to give, and you kept it to yourself, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will heat that wealth in the fire of Jahannam, and then it will be taken and stamped with the wealth on the forehead, on their foreheads, on their flanks, and on their backs. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then it will be announced that this is what you hoarded for yourselves, so taste what you have used to hoard. So these are also the punishments for those people who are miser, who keep back the wealth Allah has given them, who don't give zakat, who don't give charity. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also mentions the reward, those who spend their wealth in night and day, secretly and publicly. So when we give charity, then we should also give secretly. This is for ikhlas, but sometimes we should also give publicly as well, so that it becomes a means of encouragement for others. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that they'll have their reward with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and there is no fear concerning them, nor will they grieve. So there are many hadith regarding giving in charity and the benefits of charity as well. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us from those who always give charity. So remember, it's a means of barakah, and that it is actually a benefit for us as well. Even in Surah Humazah, Allah says, وَيْلٌ لِكُلِّ هُمَزَةٍ لُمَزَةٍ الَّذِي جَمَعَ مَالًا وَعَدَّدَ. That woe to every scandal monger and backbiter, what is do who gathers wealth and counts it after time to time. So keep on gathering wealth and counting it as if wealth is everything. يَحْسَبُ أَنَّ مَالَهُ أَخْلَدَ. Then he thinks that his wealth will keep him forever, that he will forever be with that wealth. Kalla, Allah says, no, la yumbadanna fil hutama, he shall surely be cast into that which breaks him to pieces. وَمَا أَدْرَاكَ مَا الْحُطَمَةِ, and you know what the hutama is? Narullah al-muqada. Allah is saying it is the fire of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala which is kindled to a blaze. So those people who hoard wealth, who keep wealth, and who think this wealth will make them last forever, or the wealth will last forever, rather we have to give. Why? Allah says, أَنْفِقُوا مِمَّا رَزَقْنَاكُمْ, spend from what we have given you. So whatever we have is not our own thing, but rather it is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So when we give zakat, it's a means of protection from losses, safety from calamities, security from misfortunes, and zakat will be a shelter for the one who pays on the day of Qiyamah. So it is our own benefit when we give zakat. And in one hadith it is mentioned that the zakat will come, that we don't spend will come like a snake, and it will come and bite the person. So these are all severe punishments for those people who don't pay zakat. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us. Further ahead, we are looking now at conditions for zakat. So the conditions for zakat is that it is a person, zakat becomes obligatory upon a person when these conditions are met. So the first condition is that he has to be Muslim. So zakat is not obligatory upon a person who is not a Muslim. Number two, they have to be an adult. So basically puberty. So there's no zakat on minors. You have to be mature when to be able to give zakat. Number three, to be sane. So zakat is not obligatory upon the person who is insane when his insanity remains for the whole year. If it's temporary, then that's different. But if he's for the whole year remains insane, then zakat is not compulsory upon them as well. And then number four, the owner, he should be the owner and possession of wealth equaling nisab. So then you have to have the amount of wealth which is equal to nisab, and nisab is the amount which makes zakat obligatory. And the other thing is that you have to own the zakat for the whole year. So you have to have complete ownership of the wealth. It is your wealth. It's not that you are keeping someone else's wealth for them. No, it has to be your own wealth, and you have to have the nisab amount for the full year. And when one's wealth is in excess of his personal needs, okay, so then there is no zakat on these items as well. Inshallah, we'll discuss those things further ahead. And now we are going to look at the nisab. So nisab is the amount by which zakat becomes compulsory. So the minimum amount. So if you reach that threshold and you have that threshold, then from there it's called nisab, and that's when zakat becomes binding. So zakat is calculated in two ways. One is through gold, and the other one is silver. So in gold we have 87.48 grams, or its equivalent in cash. So that you can check out the price of gold, and then you can weigh whatever gold you have, and then you can check its equivalent price as well, or you can just use the weighing scale at home as well to measure. But we have to remember that whatever gold we have, or we have other items which have gold in them as well, so then you'll have to calculate it accordingly. So silver, the nisab for silver is 612 grams. So if you only have gold, okay, then you will use gold nisab, and if you have silver or other assets, then everything else, then you use silver nisab. So now if you have gold which is less than the nisab, okay, so you will add that to all the other mixed nisabs as well. So it's not that you see your gold is less than the nisab, so you say I'm not going to pay zakat on gold because it is less than the gold nisab. No, when it is less than the gold nisab, then you will add it to the other silver and your cash nisab. So the zakat at the moment, the current rate we checked just yesterday is 3,863 for zakat, and for silver is 239.80. So we should check. There's a website called Well Wishers. Then on that website, they're always updating it and they are always giving you the latest figures. So always check the latest figures before you calculate your nisab amount.
So, and I want to add the point, Mona, that for any wealth which is a productive wealth, it has that kind of wealth becomes liable to give zakat. So the animal livestock is one kind, and agriculture crops is another kind, and this is the kind which we are at the moment discussing, is the kind where gold, silver, currency, and business stock, these four things come together. They are under one category. So the livestock has a different threshold and different way of working the zakat on it, and agriculture crop have a different way of working zakat on it. But gold, silver, and currency, the cash, and business stock, these four comes together. And if someone has all four, so obviously they will accumulate the zakatable assets accordingly. And if someone has three of them, then still they will accumulate all three together. If someone has silver, they will accumulate gold and silver. If someone only have gold, no silver, no currency, and no the business stock. So in these regards, there is two opinions. One opinion is that because the person will have only zakat and no silver, no currency, and no business stock, so which threshold he or she should follow? The 229, the silver threshold, or zakat threshold? So the few ulama, they do say he should only follow the zakat threshold, 3863. But the fatwa, the practice, the marjuh, the one who's been accepted and is the opinion of Imam Abu Hanifa, no, he should follow the silver one, the lowest one, because this is good and beneficial for the fuqara. So, and on this it is a fatwa. So you might find opinions where it says if you have only gold, your threshold is zakat gold threshold. You might find these opinions, but this has not been practiced. But there are the ulama who have evidence to it, and they because someone asked me this question the other day, that if we only have zakat, so why shall we follow the threshold of silver? No, you should follow the threshold of silver even though you only have zakat. Because on this is the fatwa, but there are few ulamas, they have different opinion. You should follow the zakatable threshold, but the practice of the mutaqaddimin, the old scholars, there are many scholars who are in this regard. They say you should follow the silver threshold.
So now in the next slide, how do you calculate the cycle of calculating the zakat? Okay, so now the first thing is that the day you have the nisab amount, okay, now all this, the nisab amount will explain how to deduct all the liabilities and everything, okay, but the nisab amount we said was 230 something pounds. Okay, so the day you have that in your possession, then that is you pencil this Islamic date in your diary, because that's the day that you have that minimum threshold, the nisab, in your possession. Now, another thing we have to remember, that it doesn't matter throughout the year whether your wealth goes up. So let's say you had 230 pounds, or whether you ended up having 3,000 pounds, or you ended up having 20 pounds. It doesn't matter whether it goes up or down. You still will give zakat at the end of the year. And the date, for example, you've put in the diary is 1st of Muharram, and that's the date that you have your nisab. So when the following year, 1st of Muharram, you will check all that you have. So now if that amount is less than the nisab, then you will not give zakat, but otherwise you will give zakat. So it doesn't matter whether it has gone up and down throughout the year. You will look at what you have at the end of the year on the on the date before the 1st of Muharram. So one lunar year, we have to remember that, not like 1st of January to 31st December. No, has to be the lunar year according to the Islamic date as well. So if you possess the current nisab amount after remove all the liabilities on the very same Islamic date, remember that again. So you must pay 2.5% of your wealth. So another way of calculating is you do times 40%. So then divide by 40%. So that will also make it easy for you to calculate zakat as well. So this process will continue until you lose all your wealth. So I will just like to recap as well, that in order for zakat to become obligatory, a person's wealth should remain in the possession for a full lunar year. Now, some people make the mistake that they think that every part of the wealth should remain in their possession for the whole lunar year. However, that's not the case. So when a person becomes the owner of nisab for the first time in his life, okay, so you should keep that date in mind. You should write that date down. And then the following year on the same Islamic date, if the person, he still has the nisab amount, then whether it increases during the year or not, it does not matter. So he will give zakat on that. However, if the wealth, all his wealth is lost, he's totally zero, he's bankrupt, he has nothing at all, and then he becomes owner of the nisab again, so he'll have a new date. Otherwise, the first date that you had written, that will remain your date for the rest of your life as well.
So just for example's sake, Mona, if we give an example that I become have crossed the threshold, Sahib Nisab, it's called Sahib Nisab. I become at the threshold. I have wealth more than my basic needs. Means the basic necessities is house and car. Obviously, we don't include these things in the threshold. So I have approximately 240 pound. So on 5th of Muharram, and to next year, 5th of Muharram, I will be liable to pay zakat. And during this year, I had a wealth of 240 pound, worth 240 pound, and then I increased to 2,000 pound and 3,000 pound, and then came back all the way to again 300 pound, and maybe I went for a short while to 100 pound, and then I will come back again to 5,000 pound. So what it matters on next year, the following year on 5th of Muharram, whatever amount I have, the worth, if example, I am holding a portfolio of 5,000 pounds. So on 5th of Muharram, the zakat we will be calculating is on 5,000 pounds of worth portfolio. Some people have misunderstandings. That someone texted me saying that that I used to believe that every time when I have a gain, that every gain amount has to go through the complete year. Then I will become liable for that amount. And another person said to me, what I do, that every 1 year, this was something, it was a misconception of him, what he said, but that example, following year, 5th of Muharram, he hold 5,000 pounds. So what he does now, he carries on the next year complete, and next year, example 2018, he became the liable for zakat. 2019, he had 5,000 pounds to the worth value of assets. So 2019, he calculated his zakat 5,000 into 2.5%. This and this I have to pay zakat, and then he goes to 2020, 5th of Muharram. On the 5th of Muharram 2020, he pays the zakat of 2019, because he says that 5,000 I have the value of the zakat I had calculated, it was 5,000. Now the whole year has completed, so that is why I'm giving a zakat for the 2019 year. Mona, you got what he got, how he misunderstood this thing.
Yeah, it's a common mistake that we can make, but I hope that's made everyone clear. And also there are some questions which are coming here. So there are some questions which we will automatically discuss during the program as well. So they will come up. as well. So just keep an eye out that whatever questions you've asked, and if they've been answered already, so then we don't have to answer them again.
And Mona, did you? Okay, next slide. Okay, so as the question has arrived, say one of the question was related to the slide which has just passed. Do you have to pay zakat on child to child benefit?
Yes, this is, will come. Yeah, you have to pay on child benefit as well. Hello.
Have you gone through the mail and seen things yet or not? The conditions of the one who pays the zakat.
Yeah.
Mail.
Yeah.
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 Okay.
Yeah.
So under that topic, we can discuss that the zakat is liable for the male. For the adult, not for the children, and
Child benefit, because the money goes to the parents for the children, so then they are spending it. So then I was reading it just yesterday that on child benefits, income tax credit, and all these benefits that you get, then Mufti Muhammad from Leicester, he said that it's added to the zakat.
So it will be added to your earnings, yearly earnings, or to your income, to your cash.
Yeah, to your cash, yeah.
Yes. Next.
So, so zakātable assets. Now, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, out of His mercy, He didn't command us to give zakat on everything. Rather, zakat is to be paid on certain items. So we can divide them into 5 categories. The first one is gold and silver. Number 2, cash, the money that you have. Number 3, merchandise, business stock. So that's the items that you want to sell, that you bought them to sell them on. And then we have agricultural produce, which is the crops, and then we have animal and livestock. So we have cows, sheep, and animals like that.
So the top 3 will have a same threshold.
Yeah.
The silver one, 240, and the bottom 2 will have a different threshold.
Yeah. So now that with gold and silver, we have to remember that whether they are gold bars, coins, jewelry, utensils, or any other form of gold and silver, then you have to pay zakat on them. And some people think sometimes that maybe you don't pay zakat on jewelry. However, zakat is payable on jewelry, even though jewelry is for your personal use. So normally zakat on personal use items is not given, but because jewelry is an exception, that even if it's for personal use, then you give zakat on it as well. However, if the jewelry is not of gold and silver, rather it's platinum, aluminium, or any other substances, then zakat will not become obligatory. So similarly, diamonds, gemstones, pearls, when they're not for trade, when they're for your own, then you don't pay zakat on them as well. We mentioned before the nisab for gold is 87.48 grams and silver 612 grams. So if you have these items in your possession for a whole lunar year, then you are going to pay zakat on them. If the gold you possess is not equal to the value of 87.48 grams, or the silver is not equal to the value of nisab 612.36 grams, but both of them combined, they are equal to the value of either of gold or silver, then zakat will become obligatory. So if one has gold and silver separately equaling or exceeding the value of nisab, then you will give each in their own way. So you will not add them to each other. So you'll reckon them separately and you will give zakat on them individually. And if you possess gold and silver that is less than nisab, but it reaches the value of nisab along with cash and other zakatable items, then all these items will be combined and you will give zakat on them from the total. Now, another point here to remember is if the gold or silver is not pure, okay, so they have other metals in them. So you have to see what is greater in quantity. So if gold or silver is more than the other metals in them, then it will be regarded as gold or silver and zakat will be compulsory. And if the other metals is greater in quantity, then zakat will not become obligatory. And also we have to remember is a carat as well when calculating, because you have different carats. So you have to calculate it according to what carat of gold that you have. And then when it comes to cash, so zakat is obligatory on cash, whether it's at hand, in bank, in the form of coins, notes, or any other form. And also when you have bonds, checks, certificates, and all these things, all these will be part of your possession and cash as well. So if you have cash equal to the value of 87.48 grams or 612 grams of silver, then zakat becomes compulsory. Now, also the income that you receive from rental properties or income from partnerships and all that, so all that will be regarded as your income, and you have to add it to the total. And if you have property on rent, then it will be also on the income gained and not on the property itself as well. So for example, even if you have a taxi, so you're not going to pay zakat on the taxi, rather you're going to pay zakat on the income that you get from doing taxi as well. Another important point to remember regarding cash is that zakat is also obligatory on receivables and debts. So inshallah, we'll cover regarding debts further ahead, inshallah. And when it comes to zakat on business goods, then whatever goods that you have purchased with the intention of reselling, that you want to sell them again, so they are referred to as merchandise, as business stock. So if one, for example, purchased a piece of land, cars, maybe house or property, and with the intention that you are going to sell them again, then zakat will become obligatory upon them on the market value, on the current market value. So for example, you're a dealer in homes, in houses, in cars, then you have to pay zakat on all of them as well. So for example, if Muhammad, he bought a house with the intention that when the opportunity comes, he will sell and he will make profit, then in this case, zakat will become obligatory on the current market value of the property. However, if he bought the property and he kept his options open without making a clear and firm intention, it's like, okay, I'm going to live in it for now, okay, but then he thought to himself, if the opportunity comes, I will sell it, or I will give it to rent, or if there is a need, then I will live in it myself, for example, then zakat will not become obligatory. So zakat becomes obligatory when you have the intention of selling again. If he had the intention of personal use, okay, so I'm going to use it for myself, but then later he changed his mind and he put the house up for sale, or the car, for example, even then zakat will not become obligatory until he actually sells the property and he receives the money. And the reason is that because at the time of purchase, he had no intention of selling it. So just changing the intention after purchase, this will not have any effect on the ruling as well. Okay. And the other point to remember is that zakat is obligatory on the current market value of merchandise. Okay. So sometimes people make the mistake of calculating zakat on the buying price. So whatever stock you have, okay, you have to calculate it according to the market value of all the stock that you have. So in Dandi, we have so many people who have shops and stuff like that. Then we will give zakat according to the price that you are selling to the customers, and not the price.
Some ulama have additional points towards this point, the market price. This is the best to calculate zakat stock on the market price, on the retail price. But however, there are ulama, those who advise that you can calculate the business stock on at a wholesale price, and there are some ulamas, those who prefer this opinion. They say Mufti Taqi Sahib, he says, what do you do, how you calculate the business stock if you have to sell the whole lump sum, the whole stock at once. In example, if you have a shop and you want to how you should calculate the zakat, the worth, the price which you want to add to the zakat list. So he says, if you want to sell the whole shop at once, the stock you have, what value you will put to that stock, that value you will add to your zakatable list, zakatable asset.
Yeah.
So this is the opinion of Mufti Taqi Sahib. But many scholars says that it is good to give the zakat on retail price, on market price, because that will have more benefit for the fuqara, for the people who are in need.
So, for example, the example ulama give is you have a textile factory, for example, where you prepare the goods. So now you have a wholesale price, wholesale customers, retail price, and then you have a price for selling all the goods at once. So then it is permissible that you calculate zakat according to how you're going to sell all of them at once. Okay. So, but it is preferable to use what Moana mentioned just now. And also another point to remember is that there is no zakat on furniture, which is kept at the shops or factories and stuff like that for your personal use. For example, table, chairs, sofas, computers, and things like that. And the machines which are used in factories or in your shop, your till machine, for example. So all these things are not classed as merchandise. So zakat will not be compulsory on them as well. And similarly, there's no zakat on the building or on the cars used for businesses. So, for example, you own a building and you're using it for your business, or you have a car, it's your business car, okay, that you're using, then zakat will not be compulsory on that one as well.
The simple rule to remember is that anything you buy to sell in the shop, on which you will consider as a merchandise stock, the business stock, anything you buy to use in the shop for yourself or business, you will not pay zakat on it.
And also the goods that are manufactured in factories and mills. Okay, so you have to on the goods that are under process of being prepared or then the raw material. So you have to pay. Why? Because all that is going to go towards the final product. So, for example, you have a bakery or you have a baking business, and the flour and all those things which are going to be added to the final product, even the the cupcakes, the covers or the boxes that you're going to sell them in. So all these things you have to add. So whatever is going to go towards the final product, whatever is going to go towards the customer, yes, whether it is raw in its raw form or you're going to put it together afterwards, the packaging, for example. So all these things you have to include in zakat as well. That's a point that we should remember. So if you have gold, silver, and merchandise individually, and they're not equal to the nisab of gold, then you will add them all together. And then if you see if the total value equals or exceeds the value of nisab, then you will give zakat upon it. And if you have different types of merchandise, okay, so for example, maybe you have sweets on one hand, you have clothes on the other hand. So whatever different merchandise you have, then you have to total all of them, and then you give zakat on it. And if you have a company and they are partners in the company or in the business, then anyone's share, when it becomes equal or exceeds nisab, then you will also have to pay zakat on that.
In terms of cash, whatever you have in bank accounts, whatever you have in wallet, whatever you have in house, whatever you have in terms of foreign currencies, sometimes you have Pakistani rupees, Indian rupees, or Dubai dinars. So in foreign if any amount in foreign accounts, if you have any accounts overseas, and if we have whatever we have in joint accounts, we have to make sure that amount is included. And one more thing is that about the gold and silver, it is a huge issue amongst the subcontinent people. The reason that there are gold in our house sometimes, and we don't know who is the owner of it. Example, I'll give you an example. When the girl is being sent to the boy's house after wedding, so she brings the gold with her, and when she brings the gold with her, obviously she is the owner of that gold, and so she is liable to pay the zakat of that gold. And when she comes to the boy's house, the groom's house, so the groom family do also provide her some gold. And here comes the problem. So sometimes when things doesn't work and divorce happens, may Allah forbid, or someone passed away, so what happened then? The people start claiming that this is our gold, returned to me, returned to us. So that is why they should be defined from day one. When the girl has arrived into your house, and from the boy's family, it should be defined. It is the milkiyat, ownership of the man, or the female, the girl. And if we are doing zakat, we should have that knowledge that whoever is paying the zakat, I think he is the owner. So if the father, if the husband is paying the zakat, so he is the owner. Unless he tells his wife, you are the owner, but however, I will pay the zakat with your permission. So if husband is paying zakat with the permission of wife, there should be a consent and permission from the owner, who, if because sometimes husband, they calculate the zakat and they pay it without even asking the owner, who the wife. So the zakat is not accepted. It has to be given permission by the lady, the owner, that we don't find that kind of mashallah, if someone have that kind of spouse and husband who pay the zakat on behalf of the wife without even asking. Rarely it happens, but he should ask. But and if the woman is not paying, the husband should make her liable to pay her zakat, or take the permission from her and pay the zakat.
Ji. So inshallah, we can move on to the next slide. Okay, we've covered this as well. So non-zakatable items, so jewelry besides gold and silver, cars and all vehicles for your personal use, properties, so not on the property itself, but rather on the income if you are doing it. But then if you're selling the property itself, then, and properties on lease, which has come, so the electronic appliances, whether it's in your home, whether it's in your business, because all these things are for your personal use, household appliances, so all these things, you don't pay zakat on them. So zakatable green, non-zakatable red. So gold and silver personal use, you pay zakat. White gold on the actual gold content itself. That's why I said you also have to make sure that you check when you're giving zakat on what's it called, what kind of karat gold it is. And if it's gold plated, then there is not zakat. And whatever cash you have in hand, bank, coins, notes, etc., all of them, you put them together and you pay zakat on them. Next slide, zakat on business stock. We've discussed this as well. So commodities refer to those items that you have got with the intention of selling it again. So on your business stock, and you will calculate according to the retail price of the goods. We've discussed that. So it's not compulsory on real estate purchase with intention to lease out. Again, we've discussed that as well. So we'll add it all and give 2.5% as zakat. Next slide, inshallah. And business. So every partner is responsible to give zakat on their own percentage. So whatever business or whatever you have a dealership or whatever it is, if you are partners, then everyone will be liable to give zakat on their share of the business. So if it is equaling nisab or more, then you give. If it's less, then you don't give on that. And you value goods at the sale price, finished goods at the sale price. However, when it is unfinished goods in the raw material, then you will value them with the market price. I think Moana will take over from here.
So this is the ijara and diminution musharaka schemes. You know, many of us who have taken long-term loans from the banks, Islamic banks. So normally they have bought the house on the diminishing mushara scheme, the ijara and diminishing mushara scheme. So if these are not considered as a debt, therefore no future payments at all can be deducted from zakatable assets. If you have paid you have bought the house of maybe £200,000, so you are paying every year monthly installments, so what they are, the debt you have. So we normally debt we consider as a liability, so we deduct the liability. But in these regards, we won't deduct it. If we deduct 200,000, so we will never become that the zakat. We will not have the nisab for the zakat forever in our life. So some scholars says you only deduct the current year due amount. For example, in one whole year 2019, you will pay towards the payments of your house, of your mortgage. I should not use the mortgage, the Islamic mortgage, not the conventional mortgage. The conventional mortgage is haram, and so the Islamic mortgage. So you should calculate 1 year amount. Example, if you pay £500 a month, so 500 multiplied by 12, so the £6,000. So you can deduct £6,000 from your zakatable assets. But however, majority of the scholars says for the long-term loans and for these halal mortgages, you should not deduct 1 year amount. You should only deduct 1 month amount. So this is something. And obviously, if we are, alhamdulillah, earning well, and we have plenty of wealth around us, plenty of things, bounties of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala around us, so we should not find the excuses to minimize the zakat. No, we should pray the maximum whatever we can, because zakat purifies our wealth, and so if our wealth is purified, we are protected. Otherwise, in one hadith, the Prophet ﷺ said, if the calamity come over your wealth, you should think that they could be a reason that you have miscalculated the zakat. If you have fulfilled the zakat, and there is less likely the calamity will come over your wealth. So that is one very important point. So you can only deduct 1 month installment, but some ulama do say you can deduct 1 year installments, but it's your choice whichever category you want to go. And in same with the car as well, those who take the car on finance, so you should only deduct 1 month amount from the zakat, not the for the whole year. And there are some ulama, they do mention you can deduct for whole year, but the ihtiyat, the precaution will be if you only deduct 1 month amount. Deposits, money deposited for the safekeeping or giving to another party for guardianship is zakatable. Any amount you have given to someone as a trust to protect, you have to add to your zakatable assets. Down payments, a purchaser is not the owner of the funds forwarded in the down payment. There's a money given as a deposit in down payment is not subject to zakat, because when you give a down payment to buy any house, so you're not anymore owner of the amount. That's why you don't have to pay zakat on it. And insurance premiums, zakat is not payable. Zakat is not payable on insurance premiums. So someone have asked this question before as well, and I just received a text in regards to the same question. Benefits, zakat is payable on the beneficiaries of the working tax credit, child tax credit, and child benefit, or other forms of social security allowances. If one possesses any of these benefits, when calculating zakat, they will be added to one's gross asset.
Moana, there is a question regarding this. Obviously, like if the child, child benefit is coming to the parents, then you add it to zakat. But what if you have a separate account for the child, and then money in the child's account?
So if you have transferred the money to child's account and had given the child ownership, and the child is owner, not you. Now your will not work over his money, over his wealth. So in that case, because the child, until he becomes mature, until he crosses the age of puberty, is not liable for zakat. Only in that case, that money will be in account for the child. He is the owner, and you can't use that money because you don't have it free will to use it, because you are not the owner, the child is the owner. And however, when the child becomes mature, and then at that age, you should teach him that this is your money, but you should pay the zakat, and the same rules will apply to him. Debt receivables. So when giving someone, helping someone by giving a loan, it is a very rewardable act. We should do it. And if someone is in need, we should always help them. And the Prophet ﷺ says, those who gives a loan, they get more reward than those who give in charity, because the charity is one-off payment, and the debt and the loan is the payment you give to someone, and it is with them for 1 month to 2 months, or 1 year, 2 years, and for whatever longer durations they are. So whatever duration they will have, they will possess, you will be rewarded more than the charity. So one is the strong debt arising from forwarding loans or outstanding invoices. So the creditor must pay zakat on the amount he has lent. So if I have lent the amount £5,000 to someone, so I should add that £5,000 to my zakatable assets. So on my asset side, because I have given the money to someone, it is my money. They are holding, they are using, whatever they are doing, they are going to return me. So I will add that money to my zakatable assets. And it is best to add strong debt receivables to one's total assets and discharge the zakat yearly. And why does it say strong debt? The reason the strong debt, they are saying that when you give a loan to someone, and because normally you give a loan to someone who you believe they will return, definitely. So and if they and you have a complete belief they will return, and they have a complete conviction to return, so that becomes a strong debt. So in that amount should be added to your zakatable assets. Weak debt. What is a weak debt? Weak debt is that this refers to receivables, some amount which you're going to receive in future.
Services, basically.
No. Maybe we can say in the the wages which you haven't received yet. The wages you haven't received. It is a debt. Receivables means you have provided services, like Mona said, you have provided services, but you haven't received the wages yet. So that wages which you haven't received yet will not be added to your asset. Once you received, then you will be added. Then it will be added to your assets. Similarly, you had a house, which you have gave the house to on rent, and the tenants haven't paid the rent yet. So you haven't received the rent yet, but you are expecting to receive in this month on this date. Today, example, today was the day which it is your zakatable year. So you were expecting to receive it today, before today, or just today, but you haven't received yet. So you won't add that amount to your zakatable asset. And outstanding mahar and down payment. So the wife, she's expecting to receive the mahar from her husband, from her spouse, but she hasn't received yet. So she will not add the amount to her zakatable assets. So she yet. And similarly, outstanding payments. So any payments of inheritance or gifts you are expecting from your family, or from the family inheritance, but you haven't received yet. So on these circumstances, you will not add them to your zakatable assets. That is why it says zakat will not be compulsory on a weak debt receivable until and unless one received the asset. And zakat is not compulsory on such debt for the previous year it was outstanding. So obviously, if it is not liable this year, it will not be liable that previous years as well until you receive that money. Debt receivables, which is the third
ownership. So that's why you don't pay zakat on it. But once it comes in your ownership, and then you pay zakat from then onwards.
So the debt receivables, the bad debts, there are two situations. Once you have lent the money, and the one who took the money, the debtor, he is a solvent or insolvent. Whether he is a solvent or insolvent. Solvent means that he hasn't been bankrupt. His earning is good. So whether he's a solvent or insolvent, he acknowledges the existence of debt. Then it will not be excluded from the zakat's creditor's zakat's responsibility. If he doesn't acknowledge, however, who you have lent the money, that person doesn't acknowledge that you have lent the money to him. So in that case, because he is not acknowledging that you have lent the money to him, in that case you will not pay zakat over the amount. So that's why it's called bad debt. You have to forget now, and maybe forgive him if you can. Allah will reward you. So because he's not acknowledging the amount you have lent him, the amount you have given him as a loan, he's not acknowledging, so you don't pay zakat on it. And and if he denies, I never took a loan from you, then obviously in this case, and you cannot establish any proof that you have lent the amount to him, the cash to him or whatever to him. So in this case as well, it is regarded as a bad debt. You will not add this amount to your zakatable assets, because this is not in your property anymore, and you have given to someone and they are denying it, or they are not acknowledging it, and they don't have any plan to return it. So you are not going to add this zakat to add this amount to your zakatable assets. Imagine after 10 years of denial, after 10 years of denial, one day he goes in Jamaat, or she goes, she realized, I did something wrong. I was supposed to pay the due amount, and I kept denying it, so I should do tawbah. And after 10 years, when he or she does the tawbah, and now he comes back to you, or she comes back to you, says, sorry, I was denying it, but you was true, and or it was my mistake. I found out the proof, you have given me the loan, so I want to give you back. So after 10 years, he or she returns the loan which was due to you, and then that amount, whatever amount, is 1,000 pounds. So for 1,000 pounds, you will pay the zakat for all 10 years, because now you have received. Now you will pay the zakat for that amount which was in denial before. Now it came into existence, and now you are the owner of it. So you will pay the zakat for all 10 years, which you haven't calculated as zakatable assets. And that is why I say to you that when you give a loan, you get more reward than the charity. Anything else, Mona, to add this to this?
Yeah, the other point I was saying that, even if the debtor, he denies the existence of the debt, but then you have some sort of proof, or through the courts that you'll be able to prove, then you add that to zakat. So gold, silver, or cash, if you've given a loan or you've sold something and you haven't received the payment for it as well, then you should make a habit of actually including it in your total zakat and give zakat from it. But the ruling is that payment of zakat will only become obligatory once the debt, once you've received the money, or you've recovered that debt. But then when you receive it, then you have to pay zakat for the previous years as well. That's also something that you have to, I thought I would add, so that we can keep in mind.
Jazakumullah. And the next one is debt liabilities. The short-term liabilities which we need to pay within a year, and the long-term liabilities. I think we have just touched a bit of it before as well. So the short-term liability, the total amount of short-term liabilities will always be deducted when calculating one's zakatable assets. So when you calculate the zakatable assets, zakat, you have on one side you have assets, and on the other side you have liabilities. So anything is a productive wealth, you will put on the zakat asset side, and anything you have to pay, you are due to pay, you are liable to pay, you put on the liability side. And then you do the total of both of it, and if assets are more than the liabilities, so you will pay the zakat on 2.5% on the total amount. So the total amount of short-term liabilities will all be deducted when you are calculating zakatable assets. Like example, the electricity bill, you have already used the electricity for the month of Ramadan, and now you haven't received the bill yet, but you're going to receive it very soon, and this will be the amount. So you can deduct that bill beforehand, even while you're doing this calculation for zakat. And the long term span over a number of years, the amount one need to pay the course of 1 year will be subtracted from one's gross asset. So this is why I said there are ulamas those who say you should subtract only 1 year long-term loans from the zakat calculations. But
1 month.
1 year. There are the ulama those who say you can subtract 1 year. But however, the ihtiyat, the precaution is to deduct only 1 month, and this is also opinion of many ulamas. So debts are deductible from your zakatable total if they are to be repaid in full within the next 12 months. Debts which do not have to be paid in the next 12 months are not deductible. So next year, that following of next year, that you should not deduct those amounts. If debts are payable by installments, then 12 months debt is deductible. So, but this is the opinion of the scholars. But the ahwat, the ehtiyat one, जिसमें खास तौर से एहतियात है, वो ये है कि आप एक महीने के पैसे जो ड्यू है इंस्टॉलमेंट में वही डिडक्ट करें, ना कि पूरे साल के. Outstanding liabilities. So outstanding liabilities is also the basic living expenses which you have not paid yet. The utility bill, good purchase on credit, you have taken the receipt of the goods, but not yet paid for them. So you have the goods in your positions and in your ownership, but you haven't paid yet. So you can deduct the amount from the zakatable assets. You are due to pay the salaries of your employees, so you can deduct the amount as well, because the salaries are already due. So you can deduct the due salaries, not the future salaries. Remember that. Unpaid dowry to one's wife, assuming one intends to pay this during the year, then it can be deducted. If you are going to pay your wife dowry this year, then only it can be deducted. And if you have no plan to pay this year, then it should not be deducted. And any personal loans should be deducted, and commercial loans, entire loan cannot be deducted against the assets, only 1 year payment, and according to many ulama, only 1 month payment. Zakat on shares. Zakat on shares, the shares are two types. One is you buy to resell for capital gain. So entire holding is subject to zakat, and plus any dividends has been received. And this is second category. You purchase them and you hold the investment for very long duration, and you only benefit from the dividends. So if you only benefit from the dividends, so the dividends will be added to your cash, to your income, and the percentage of zakatable assets of the business. So to explain more, the first category where you purchase the shares to resell them, not to hold them, to buy and sell for capital gain. So Mona, what was the example you shared with me yesterday? For capital gain example.
Sorry, Mona, can you repeat that?
And what was the example you shared with me yesterday for the capital gain on shares?
Okay. Yeah. So if shares are purchased with the intention of capital gain, then zakat will be obligatory on the face value of the share. So, for example, a person purchased some shares at the rate of, let's say, £5, and with the intention that if the value increases, then I will sell them and I will gain profit from them. So when I calculate zakat on the zakat date, then the value of these shares, for example, was £10 on that day. Okay, then zakat becomes obligatory on the price of £10 and not on the price of £5, because the share itself has become an article of trade. So it's you are actually increasing your money in it, and zakat is farad on the current market value of merchandise. So because it's become an item of trade, so now you have the intention of reselling it. So whatever value it is now on the day when you're calculating zakat of, then you add the amount.
And for the if you have the shares which you hold for long terms, so like Apple shares and or the shares which are that when you invest in the share, you should make sure the shares are halal companies as well. And how does the halal what it is, how you define is halal or not, you should ask the scholars. So if it's for dividend reasons, you pay the dividend on it. And percentage of zakatable assets of business. Example, if for the sake of argument, if you take Apple, so the dividends you get, you will add to the income, and the Apple, it will have as a business, will have the machineries, will have raw material, will have the final goods. So you take the report from them. So anything which is used for businesses will not pay you will not take that percentage. So example, out of 100%, 40% is the machineries, tools, and the land. On these you will not pay any zakat, and 60% is the raw material and the goods, final goods. So that 60% value you will consider, and you will consider that value and take the 2.5% of that value and the dividend plus them and add them to your cash and income. Hope has satisfied. So business assets, fixed asset, machinery, building, furniture, etc., non-zakatable. Current assets, cash, stock in trade, receivables, zakatable. One will pay the zakat on percentage of current assets in the ratio to his share value. For example, Zaid purchased £1,000 worth of shares in a company XYZ. 40% of the company's asset cover machinery, furniture, cars for use, etc. And 60% of company's assets are in the form of stock in trade and cash receivable. So he will take the zakat will be on 60% of £1,000, which is 600. 2.5% of 600 is of 600 will be the zakatable in addition to dividend. So the way of ascertaining the proportion of zakatable assets from non-zakatable assets of the company is to review the balance sheet of the profit and loss account. These documents are available as part of the company's annual report. So this is how you will calculate the stocks, the shares. The next one is the pension schemes. The pension schemes are two types, where the employee has a choice to pay and where the employee doesn't have a choice to contribute. Where the employee have a choice to contribute, where the employee doesn't have a choice to does have a choice to contribute. Where the employee doesn't have a choice to contribute, so it is a mandatory from the government. It goes to your pension scheme. On that amount, you will not pay zakat until you reach that age when you receive the pension. When you receive the pension, you will pay zakat on that. You will add in the respective year. And if you have a choice and you have taken that choice for the pension scheme, so you have taken the choice and you are contributing. So if you are contributing, then it will be exactly same like shares, which we have mentioned just before, like investments, because you are investing for future. So that's why it will be exactly same like investments. If now you have to find out where your pension company is investing. If the pension company is investing in the properties, so you need to find out how much. If you have invested £50,000, you have total portfolio in your pension scheme £50,000. So you need to find out how much is invested where and which kind of businesses, and then the same rules will apply. That if it is a rental income, so you take the income. If it is a factory, then you will deduct 40% from the factory of the machinery, buildings, furniture, etc. And the 60% it will be the zakatable. So same rules will apply if you have a pension schemes where you are contributing willingly by yourself. So you have to go and check the investments rules, and you'll be able to find the answers. And for more details, you can ask the scholars, and they will give you more detailed answers.
And also, I was reading as well that there are some ulama of the opinion that zakat becomes obligatory on the true contribution of the past years as well. So ihtiyat, if you want, you can pay as well, but you don't really have to add that. So zakat on ushur. So ushur is agricultural produce. Okay, so whatever you cultivate from the land, then this is ushur. So I'll just mention quickly, there are 6 differences between zakat and ushur. Number 1, there is no particular nisab for ushur as opposed to zakat. Okay, so however, anything less than a half sa', meaning 1.63 kgs is exempted. So whatever it is, so whatever you get from your land, you will pay. Like zakat is a nisab for it. but for ushur, there is no particular nisab. And number two, the 1 year passing is a condition in zakat, whereas the 1 year passing is not necessary in ushur. So if, for example, you have a land where you harvest and you have produce twice a year, then ushur will be farz on both times. So whatever you get from your land, you pay zakat on it. And ushur is also obligatory on an insane person, okay, because it's on the land. Number four, ushur is also obligatory on a minor as well. And ushur is also obligatory on a slave as well, while zakat is not obligatory on the three of them. And number six, being the owner of the land is also not a condition in ushur. So ushur will also be necessary in work of land. So basically it's whatever you produce, whatever comes out of it, then you pay zakat on it. So ushur, we have fruits, vegetables, whatever produce you get, they will be part of ushur. For example, British in our context today, so wheat, barley, sugar, beet, all these examples given on the screen, then they will also be subject to ushur. But however, normal trees, grass, weed, and those undesirable products which are not gonna be part of your produce or your harvest, then they are not subject to ushur. And the produce, basically the produce of any cultivated land, this will be subject to ushur. So how much should be given? Okay. Now there's two things here. One is when it is irrigated naturally, and one is you use your own means to irrigate the land. So if artificial methods of irrigation, such as sprinklers, emitters, and all the different types of irrigation schemes are used, then you will pay 5% of the total value of the crop. Okay. So if you are using artificial methods, then 5%. And if it's only by rainfall, then you give 10%. But then if it's a combination of both, okay, of natural and artificial, then you look at what is more frequent. So what was used more, and then according to that, you will pay. So if you've used more of artificial methods, then 5%. If it's more of natural, then it is 10%. And ushur, at the time of harvest, that's the time when you have to pay ushur. So whether you don't look at the quantity or the quality, all you do is whatever harvest you've got and you pay from there. So it's very, very simple, and we don't need to go much more detail in it. But another question also is that, for example, in your own backyard, okay, so you're growing your own crops. Like in Dundee, we have, mashallah, some people who grow their own potatoes or dhania or mint and stuff like that. Then you don't have to pay ushur, because that's just in your backyard and your private holding. It's not for sale, it's just for your own home use. And then zakat on animals. Okay, sorry. Before that, so is ownership of the land necessary? So again, we've touched that. So it is not necessary to own the cultivated land. So leased, borrowed, as well as those which are under awqaf, they'll be you'll have to pay ushur if it was cultivated and the crops were produced. So it doesn't matter who owns the land. Okay, it's about what you produce from the land, and it's not necessary again for a year to pass. However, whenever you have the harvest, then you give the ushur, and you can also give the value in cash. So for example, you have potatoes and you have this much value, then you can pay them according to cash, or you can give them in terms of the potatoes or the produce 5% or 10% itself, or you can give equal in cash. So next is the zakat on animals and livestock. So I'm quickly going through these because we don't really come through that a lot. Okay, so zakat is compulsory on the camels, cattle, sheep, and goats. So these are the categories of animals on which zakat is compulsory. You can see they're all four-legged. Okay, and so the conditions for zakat to be compulsory on livestock is the animals, they graze on public land, and the purpose for having livestock is growth of the flock and milk. Okay, so you want to increase the flock, you can sell it off for meat, for example, or you are keeping the livestock so you can get milk from it. So these are the conditions. And animals, the other thing is that they are grazing on public land. But if they eat, next slide, if they eat from the owner has his own private land, and then they're eating from this, and or the owner, he is providing food for them, then zakat is not binding upon it. So this is only for those which graze on public land and not on your own land, or not if you, they're only eating from what you are providing. And if someone has any animals for conveyance or for transporting or for consumption, then they are not subject to zakat. If you trade in livestock, then they will be treated as a commodity, as a trade item, and zakat will be on the selling price. So we haven't mentioned much. So inshallah, if anybody is dealing in livestock, then inshallah they should contact us, and we will be able to assist them as well.
But I hope, I believe that many of us who have livestock, if not here in India and Pakistan, wherever, if you come from the subcontinent, and definitely some of us must have the farms. So these things do apply to many people.
And
the paying zakat.
Paying zakat. So we should not ever delay in paying zakat. So the important thing is that we have to make the intention at the time of giving zakat. So the intention is compulsory. You don't have to verbally say the intention, but rather in your mind as well. If you make the intention, then you give zakat. But if you not make if intention is not made, then zakat will not be valid. So intention is compulsory. So you have to make it at the time of giving zakat, to a qualifying recipient or to an agent at the time of separating zakat funds from your total assets. So because you've done all the calculation, so now you know this is the amount. So when you take it out, now you have the intention that this is, I've taken it out for zakat, the intention is enough. So you don't have to make verbally or anything like that. And number two, it is permissible to discharge someone else's zakat from one's own wealth on condition you have the approval and acknowledgement from the other party. If you've taken permission and you've told them, they know that you're paying zakat on their behalf from your own item, then that is fine as well. The next slide, inshallah. Now, this is another important, is tamleek. Now, tamleek is when you are transferring the ownership of the funds. So zakat will only be considered to be paid when tamleek is found, when you have made them the owner. Okay, so you transfer of ownership from the zakat payer to a needy person. So those who are going to receive the zakat, okay, then they become owners of it. So the shurut and the conditions are that the transferor must be zakat payer or his agent. So he has to be the zakat the payer himself, or if he's told someone else to do it on his behalf, his agent, then they can do it. And the recipient, he must be a living person, okay, who is entitled to receive zakat and not a legal entity. So not an organization, has to be a person, okay. And then the other thing is that the transfer that you are giving them, okay, this must not be a payment for any service. So for example, they've done something for you, so you say, now I'm paying you for the service, but in zakat. So zakat is not done there, because you're paying for the service and you're not giving him in zakat. It's something in exchange. Zakat, there is nothing in exchange, it's just that you are giving. And the recipient must acquire possession of the money, of the funds, and he should become, or he or she should become the owner of the funds unconditionally. You can't say that I'm giving you this money, so make sure you pay it for this, or you using this. No. You have given to them, so they can do whatever they want with it. Anything to add, Mona?
Tamleek, the next slide is about the tamleek, about the madaris. We'll come to that later on when we talk about the madrasa. One question someone asked here. So that you can give it to your family members. Do we have to say that it is a zakat? No, you don't have to say it is zakat when you're giving to your family members, relatives, that you are giving them zakat. So obviously you're making them owner of the amount, and they can do whatever they want. And sometimes the people ask me, can we give the money for the someone's to help someone to get married, to get their daughter married? You have to give them, if they are zakat recipients, then you can give them the zakat, and it's up to them however they want to use. So the tamleek is that you make them owners, and it's their choice now, however they want to use.
And
you can advise them, but it will be upon them how they use.
yeah, and you don't have to reveal to the needy person as well that you are giving them zakat, as long as if they think it's a gift, okay, or you say to the needy it's a gift, but in your own heart you have the intention that you are giving zakat, and the needy actually is one of the mustahiqeen of zakat, then zakat will be done. And even when a loan is given to a needy person with the intention of zakat, that yeah, basically you're giving it as zakat, so you say it is a loan, but your intention is that you're not going to take money back and it is actually zakat and not a loan, then this will be valid, even though the recipient thinks it's a loan, but because you have made the intention that it is zakat and you're not going to take it back from him, then this will also be considered to be zakat as well. Okay, and also another point ulama mentioned, that when you give zakat and you did not make the intention of giving zakat, then as long as the wealth is still in the possession of the recipient, then you can make the intention. However, if the recipient he has used the wealth, then the intention will not be valid and you'll have to pay zakat again. Ji, inshallah, Mona will cover that.
From this, who can take the zakat, who is deserving to take the zakat. This is the category where poor and needy. This is definitely is been agreed by everyone that they can take zakat. Those who do not have own any zakatable assets nor surplus asset beyond their personal asset that equal the nisab. So those who don't have nisab threshold, and they don't have what do you call? They don't reach to the threshold of zakat. So they are poor, they are needy, they can take it, they can take the zakat. But the ulama do also say someone might not have the threshold, but at the same time, he or she might have such amount, or what do you call, things, facilities, in his house, which is crossing the threshold of zakat. So he have the house, he or she has the house and furniture and so many things, which is not which is not the wealth which produce the wealth, which is not productive wealth, but he or she has so much that it will cross the threshold. So those people should not take the zakat as well. So the needy are those who don't have earnings, So this is the best category to invest your zakat in. Second category, debtors. Those who have those individuals whose liabilities exceed their zakat and zakatable and surplus assets. So someone who has £1,000, £500 loan, and so this is not considered as a heavy debt. So someone who is, it says in the books of fiqh, those who have muhit, qarz muhit, such debt which encompasses them, they are in deep in debts. So these kind of debtors, those who are so much in the depth of loans, who are due to pay others, and they haven't paid yet. So these kind of debtors they can take as well. And fi sabilillah, and it depends who are in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the students, those who are struggling for the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the madaris. So many people do provide their zakat to the madaris as well. So madaris is not the entity can take zakat. Like masjid can't take zakat. Exactly the same, the madaris can't take zakat. So no, because madrasa is an institute. An institute can't take the zakat. We can't invest our money on the furniture, or zakat money on the furniture or construction or land. We can't, unless they have the students, those who are deserve for the zakat. So they can, on behalf of them, they can take a zakat. But how it works, the best way to make it work is when they are enrolling the child in the madrasa, they should have a form where it says that if your child is have the threshold of the amount of zakat, and so if they no, he don't have that threshold of amount of zakat, so no. And then is he able to receive zakat, or does he come in the category of receiving zakat? And if the parents, whoever the guardians, when they're enrolling child, they said yes, then that madrasa who have collected zakat from the people, they should can take the wealth on behalf of these children and proceed in their benefit. This is how this is possible. And mu'allafatul qulub, in the beginning of the Islam, the non-Muslims and some Muslims, to bring them closer to Islam, so the zakat money it was said that zakat money can be used to bring them closer to Islam. However, many ulama scholars are now of the opinion that for this reason we can't use the zakat. One of the main reason is that because they refer to Umar radiallahu ta'ala. In the time of Umar radiallahu ta'ala, they have realized that the Islam has came to such level, subhanallah, that it is now we don't have to ask the people, incline them to come to the fold of Islam. The people can see the beauty of Islam, and they should think, they should observe, and they should ponder and take lessons from it and embrace Islam. So for this reason, Umar radiallahu ta'ala cancelled this category. However, if some ulama, some scholars says, if you find this category still somewhere around the world, Allahu A'lam, you need to ask again with the scholars to fulfill this category. If you want to pay the zakat in this category, you have to ask again with the scholars where you want to spend and how you want to spend.
Another is
under this hadith that they also say, according to the hadith of there is no hadith which mentions the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam has provide in this category. So that is why also one of the reason Umar radiallahu ta'ala decided not to contribute in this category.
I was just mentioning that about institutions as well. So sometimes people, even like in Fi Sabilillah or Mawla fi Qulub, some people try and add radio stations and TV, TV stations and stuff like that, as they say, oh, we can receive zakat because we are working in the path of Allah as well, or we are doing work which is calling people towards Islam and things like that. So the ulama have said, no, we cannot give zakat to radio stations and TV stations and stuff like that.
And to travelers, again, same thing, the wayfarers. So the ulama have this again same opinion that nowadays the travelers, when we travel, subhanallah, we are well off to travel. We are very well off when we travel. We have every need we have when we travel around us. So even this category is not the category where we should invest our zakat, unless you find someone who don't have anything. So if you find someone who don't have anything, they will come in the category of poor and needy. And the final category is zakat collectors, those who collect the zakat, though the agents who collect the zakat, the charities who collect the zakat, and so they should not take zakat for their benefit. The agents can't take zakat for their benefit, or they can't be benefited from zakat. No, this category was there in the beginning days of Islam, but same now you and us, no one gives zakat to the charities, for the institute, to the agents. None of us give zakat to the agents, because we all know that the agents are well off and they have plenty money. They don't come in the threshold of receiving zakat. So exactly as this category has been we don't contribute to this category, exactly same we don't contribute to other categories as well. The most and the important category is the poor and needy, the fuqara and masakin. This is the most important category, and the rest of them are mu'allafati qulub and zakat collectors and travelers. We don't invest as our zakat in this category. And debtors, there is some leeway. And fi sabilillah, the students, the madrasa, the students who are learning the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So in this, there is a leeway.
So basically, can I just do a khulasa summary? So zakat can only be given to those who don't own in excess of their personal needs any type of wealth that is equal to the value of nisab. For example, Abdullah doesn't have zakatable assets in his possession. Okay, neither does he own any wealth after his personal and basic needs, which is to the value of nisab. So in this case, he will be eligible to receive zakat. However, if Abdullah, he does not have any zakatable assets, okay, but he owns valuables in excess of his personal needs, then that are to the value of nisab. So in this case, although he does not have to pay zakat, he will not also receive zakat as well. So this is another thing, that your own needs, your things for your personal use, but they are in excess of what you actually need. So for example, let's say you have a car, so you have two cars, for example. So although you will not be giving zakat because you don't have the what's it called, nisab amount, but because you have an excess, you have one more car which is your personal, but still it's in excess of your personal needs, and the car is obviously equal or more and then the zakat nisab, then you will not receive zakat.
So these are the categories where we should not pay our zakats to one, general welfare projects. So because as we have discussed, those, how you can define that they have the threshold. You can't invest in the construction, you can't invest zakat in construction and all those things. On hospitals as well, same. Madrasas, same. We can't invest our zakat in constructing madrasa, constructing hospitals. And that's why I say to you, how you can pay the zakat in hospitals. There is also the similar principle or theory will work, which works in madrasa. When the patients enroll in the hospital as a patient, comes into the hospital as a patient, and the hospital has a form, and where they says that this I'm able to receive zakat. I don't have a threshold, and so I can be from zakat recipients. If you have zakat, you can treat me from that money. So maybe in this case, the hospital, you can pay zakat to hospitals. Otherwise, as for constructing the hospitals and all those things, the way we can't construct a masjid and madrasa through zakat money, exactly same, we can't construct the hospital through zakat money. The construction projects for mosques and hospitals. And then these are the other than these categories, 8 categories which we mentioned, there are a few other categories which is not mentioned in the Quran but in a hadith. These are the family, the descendants of Abbas, Haris, Ja'far, Aqil, radiyallahu anhum. So these are the descendants who the children of Abbas, the children of Harith ibn Abdul Muttalib, the children of Ali, the children of Ja'far, then the children of Aqil. So this is the family of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and the freed slaves of his family. The family of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the freed slaves of his family are not able to take zakat. We should give utmost respect to them, and we should give sadaqah lillah to them, but the zakat doesn't suit them. We can't give them zakat. We should take care of them. That doesn't mean you should not take care of them. We should take care of them more than anyone else, because they are from the family of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, from the beloved Habib Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who we love, the source of our deen, and the reason Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created the heaven and earth. So we should take care of them at most whatever we can, but we can't give them the zakat.
And there are many incidents in the books of histories that those people who have helped the Sayyids and they have actually benefited quite a lot. So there are many stories you can read.
And we can give zakat to rich person. We can't give zakat to one's wife or husband. So husband can't give to wife and wife can't give to husband. and the same we can't give to our parents, grandparents, great grandparents, or children, grandchildren, great grandchildren. So we can't give to usul and furu, not to the our elders, those from and not to our children as well. And but there is someone asked one question about the wife giving a zakat to husband's parents or husband's parents. So
In-laws.
that is possible. That is possible because wife, she is giving a zakat not to her parent, not to her parent, but the parent of her husband. So in this case, it is possible to pay zakat to the husband, to the parent of the husband, but we can't pay zakat to our own parents or our own children. And zakat we can't pay to non-Muslims, and we can't give as a bonus to our employees as well.
And so you can give to your brothers, sisters, uncles, aunties as well.
Yes.
And normally when giving zakat to a relative who is poor or needy, then you should try and just give it and not say it is zakat, because sometimes they might feel embarrassed that my family member, I'm taking zakat from my family member. So we should make it seem like an honor, not like something which it embarrasses them. Oh, look, you are a recipient of zakat and things like that.
Okay, and when you give the your zakat to the charities, you should make sure that charity which you give the zakat have 100% donation policy, because your wealth, your zakat should not be used for their own purposes, for their admin jobs, or for their whatever expenses they have, tax expenses, or whatever expenses they have. They can't use that, and so do not risk your money, your zakat, to the charities who do not have 100% donation policy. Please vet them. It is your responsibility to vet them. It is not anyone else's responsibility. Your job is not to just hand over the zakat to anyone. It is your responsibility to, before you hand over the zakat, to vet them, and you are satisfied, then only you give them. And if you're not sure, consult the scholars, and they will guide you that which that who have, because us getting phone calls from the charities, from the people, from the madaris, we have this madrasa, we have this madrasa, and so we do have this kind of relationship with the people, those who are in need, those who are needy, and we can vet them. So you can transfer to them. You can transfer to them to any scholars who because the people do come and approach them, those who are in need. So you can, and if the scholars, they vet them, you can transfer to them. It is your choice, or wherever you want. And the best choice is, first you look into your family. If you find someone in your family who can take a zakat, you should always give the preference to them. Always give the preference to them, because not only you get the reward of zakat, you will get the reward of maintaining the kinship relationship. And someone I've seen, someone asked the question, can we, because the government take a tax from us, why not we consider that tax as a zakat? Because that is your dues in the bills, and the government has providing you the services, and on the basis of that services, government is taking a tax from you, and the government is not taking a tax from you on the ground to pay these to pay only these categories. Like you can't give zakat to the agent who don't have 100% donation policy. Exactly same to, you can't give to the government the zakat. You have to pay your dues, you have to pay your bills. You don't take it wrong. That's the rule of the government. You have to follow those bills and the tax, VAT, whatever you have to pay, you have to pay. But you can't pay zakat as you pay them their bill and then think, oh, I paid my zakat. No, because like the same way the agents who don't have 100% zakat donation policy, you exactly same way, because we don't know where they're going to spend it. So in Pakistan, in many Muslim countries, there are the banks, there are the governments who take the charity money, zakat money, and they cut from the contributions of your payments towards the government. But if the government, because if they take the contributions as a zakat of your business, and then they are liable to spend the zakat in the zakat to those categories who can receive the zakat. But here In our example, because we don't know they will be spending in the categories which they are on where the zakat is applicable. Zakat is applicable, and that's why that you should be very careful in these regards. And if possible, you should always give zakat personally, because giving a zakat personally has a completely different effect on you, and you can see how that is impacting on the people. And zakat, it is something which you help to help others, to empower them to stand on their feet. Especially to, if someone, by your zakat, if someone stand on their feet and they become such who have crossed the threshold of zakat and start paying the zakat, so your zakat has been invested in a very good investment. Or sometimes if they are needy and they don't have any earnings, obviously you should give them preference as well. So I think we have completed many things.
Is it permissible to give zakat to a darsh?
What is the darsh?
I don't know. And this question has been answered as well. Can you give to the family members? So basically, parents, grandparents, and all that, children and stuff, you can't, but the rest you can give. And zakat on child benefit, yes. But if it's a separate account, then no. If it's just for the child, then you're not going to touch it. And there's another question here: can you make monthly installments payments for zakat Ramadan to Ramadan? So, for example, you have 1,000 pounds of zakat, and what's it called? Can you give every month 100 pounds till the next year? So the thing is that we should give all the zakat money as soon as possible. We should not, although it is permissible that you give zakat in monthly installments, but with zakat, it's very important that you give it out as soon as you have calculated it, and you and it becomes firm on you.
To add on, if someone is paying zakat the zakat is due on 29th of Ramadan, and you started paying 6 months before, 7 months before, because you have a rough idea how much you will be your zakatable assets and how much will be liabilities. You start paying 6-7 months before. That's fine. You can pay you can start paying before the term completes, and when the term completes, and just you have to make sure that you have paid the right amount. If there is a due, add on. If there is a you have paid a surplus more than what you are supposed to pay, then you can use that surplus for next year. You can use the surplus for next year.
Also, when we are giving zakat through agents, for example, or you're giving to organizations, okay, charity organizations, so we also have to make sure that there's keep that charity away, because sometimes some organizations, they keep the money for many years. So that's also disliked in makruh, not good. So this is following on the question that zakat becomes compulsory. Jald se jald garibon ko pahuncha do. Don't delay it, or don't keep it and store it, and then I'll do it slowly in aisa. So we have to be careful with that. Another
it is allowed to give in installments, and you can pay. You can make that. You can do the calculations. Keep the money on side whenever the people arrive to you, and you can pay them zakat. It is allowed to do it, but as Mona said, if the people are in need and you're keeping your money on the side, that doesn't make sense. But the whole purpose of zakat is to benefit them.
And another thing is about if you make an error in giving zakat. So, for example, you give zakat to a person and you thought that they are a needy person and they are a rightful recipient. Okay, but afterwards you found out that they're not in the correct masraf, so they're not from those who actually are meant to receive zakat. Then in all the situations, your zakat will still be valid. And on the other hand, when the person finds out that I was given zakat and I will not deserve the zakat, then they should return it back to the giver so that he can give it back. But if you gave at the time of giving, you actually thought 100% that this person is recipient of zakat and you gave it to them, then your zakat is done. But if one person, they cannot determine whether the recipient is worthy of zakat or otherwise, then they should make sure first and then give zakat. And if you give zakat without inquiry, okay, and subsequently you find out that the recipient was not worthy, then the zakat will have to be repaid. Okay, so basically you have to make sure. So without inquiry you give, and then you find out that they were unworthy of zakat, then you have to pay zakat again.
And I think the first question was about the madrasa. Yes, Yasser, we have already answered that question. If the madrasa, we can give the zakat to madrasa if the madrasa has the students who deserve to take the zakat, who can be from the recipients of zakat, who don't cross the threshold of zakat, paying zakat, so they can receive zakat. Yes, if the madrasa has the students like that. Yes, but you have to make sure the madrasa has such kind of students. Anything else, Mark? So this is the final thing I would like to mention. So we have talked about the nisab, the threshold. So from the productive wealth, and sometimes we don't have, but someone here, like many people who might not have a possess a nisab of productive wealth, but they might have non-productive wealth nisab. What does that mean? Non-productive wealth nisab. So I might not have gold, I might not have silver, I don't have a currency, and I don't have business stock. So I don't come under any category of zakat, paying zakat category. So I don't cross the threshold, so I'm not paying zakat. But at the same time, I have so many things in my house which exceeds the threshold of zakat, which is 240 pounds approximately. So I have so many things in my house, like a computer and laptop and many other things, which is more than my essentials, more than my basic needs. There are many things in my house which will cross definitely. And in UK especially, I think every one of us will cross this threshold. That they might not have the zakat threshold, but they might have the non-productive wealth threshold, which every one of us will cross it. And if in this category, in this regards, so the 5 rulings will apply on them. So sadaqatul fitr become wajib on them. So maybe he is not able to pay zakat because he's not crossing the threshold, but he have to pay sadaqatul fitr. And second thing, the udhiyah, the qurbani will become wajib on him. And the third thing, the expenditure of both paternal and maternal relatives, who we call dhi raham mahram, those who you cannot marry. So expensing, if they are poor, and I'm not able to pay my zakat because I don't cross the threshold. But in my family, there are some people who are my relatives, and they are poor and they don't have anything to earn, and you are. They are not from the category whom you can marry, like your pupu, khala. So you should support them, even though you don't pay zakat, but you should support them. And the fourth category, Hajj becomes first upon those people who don't have zakat threshold, but they have a house, they have a land, which they, the land which they have bought not to sell it. They bought the land to keep it, to make the house, but they haven't made the house yet. So the zakat will not be on that land, but they still have to go for Hajj because they have enough wealth by which they can go for Hajj. So there is a understanding. If zakat is if you are crossing the threshold of zakat, then you should go for Hajj. No, if you're not crossing the threshold of zakat, but you have so many things in your life which is crossing the threshold of zakat, which is non-productive wealth, then you should go for Hajj, and the zakat becomes haram for that person as well. Those who have a non-productive, they don't have productive wealth, they have non-productive wealth, and they cross the threshold. So 2 conditions: they don't have productive wealth first, second, they have non-productive wealth, and the non-productive wealth is so much that will cross the threshold 240 pounds. And the sadaqatul fitr for us, according to wheat, is a 4 pounds. And this sadaqatul fitr is wajib on the day when the day of Eid, because we are living in such countries where we don't find the poor people, needy people, where we can hand over the money to them so they can buy their essentials. So that's why the ulama have said you can pay sadaqatul fitr way before than the Eid. We can pay our sadaqatul fitr now because it is the need of many people who can fulfill the needs before the Eid. Because if you send the amount, the money now, it will take time. It will take time from to reach there. And the second, and the points I have mentioned you about these 5 points about sadaqatul fitr and udhiyah, and the expenditure of both paternal and maternal relatives, and Hajj becomes fard and Zakat becomes haram. This is being mentioned by Mufti Sa'id Palanpuri, Damat Barakatuhum, from India. And the sadaqatul fitr, we can pay in the time of Sahaba Ikram. They used to pay in as a commodities, as a wheat, as a barley, as dates, as raisins, because in those days there was no refrigerators and stocks around everywhere. But now, alhamdulillah, rarely will find someone that even the poor people will not have a stock. They all will have the stock. They will have wheat, they will have barley, they will have these things in the house by which they are sustaining themselves. So that's why the ulama says if you give them the actual sadaqatul fitr like wheat, barley, will not benefit them. We have seen in past people, those who are insist to give wheat and barley to poor people in actual form, because this is how it was, the sadaqatul fitr. So what the poor people will do, they will take it from you and they will sell for half price, and then they will benefit from the cash. So why not you give the cash to them rather giving the wheat and barley to them? So if you're giving according to the calculations of wheat, so Mufti Yusuf from Batman, he has calculated that according to wheat is a 4 pounds, and according to barley is a 6 pounds, and according to dates, which is 5.88 liters, one sa, the 15 pound, and according to raisins is a 17 pound. So in any of the category you can choose and pay the Zakātul Fitr for each person 4 pound or 6 pound and 15 and 17. The reason of difference in the price is because the wheat price is different, barley is different, dates is different, and raisins different. The higher you pay, the higher you get the reward. So if you're being paying 5 pounds for whole life, then why not try this year to pay the Zakātul Fitr by the dates price, which is 15. And the Zakātul Fitr is compulsory on everyone in the family. Zakātul Fitr is compulsory on everyone in the family, on the children as well, on the kids as well. So we have to pay Zakātul Fitr on behalf of whole family, our children as well. Anything to add, Mona?
Yeah, but I was just gonna say that we should speak a bit about Zakatul Fitr, but you've covered it. So basically, what's it called? This year it is 5 pounds in Dundee. So please make sure you give it for your children and everyone as well.
Any more questions you've received? Let me check my text. I think I think we can call a day now. Things have been covered, alhamdulillah. Thank you for joining us, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless us and make us from those who pays the zakat with the what is it due, and fulfill this requirement, this fariza, as it is very important for us to purify our wealth and to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we should not only just worried about the zakat, we should pay more than zakat, because the generosity is something the Prophet ﷺ said, Allah loves the generous people, and the generous people will be closer to Allah and closer to Jannah, and the stingy people will be far from Jannah and far from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So please, everyone pay their dues and because for fitrana, the masajid, usually people used to pay the drop the fitrana to the masajids, and the masajids used to pay to the recipients, whoever are more deserving. Now, because the masajids are closed, you might find difficult to drop the money. So either you transfer yourself to the recipients wherever you find, in back home or anywhere wherever you find, or if you find the scholars, or you find the reliable agents and provide them beforehand, so that the poor people can enjoy before the Eid, like we will be enjoying the Eid as well. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala remove the suffering, those who are suffering from COVID-19, because the Eid will not be seen for us this year, because when we know our family and friends are suffering from COVID-19, so it's not going to be same for us this year. Our Eid can be good if we find out that our family and friends who are suffering from COVID-19 has been recovered, and those people who have lost their family, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant those family members sabr jameen, and those who have passed away grant them the rank of shaheed.
Ameen.
चलते हैं
Yes.
واخر دعوانا الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على خير خلقه محمد وآله وصحبه أجمعين برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين.